Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. A busy night in sports as the BYU Cougars lose at home to Arizona, although that hardly tells the story of that wild ride. Super competitive game for 15 minutes. Thought it was going to be great. Then Arizona takes over, builds a 19-point lead, blows it. It goes down to 1, and Rob Wright has the ball and a chance to get the go-ahead bucket, and he gets a shot block from behind in the middle of the lane. BYU has to foul, and they end up losing by 3. We'll get to the post-game reaction from that wild ride in a minute, but also last night, the Utah Mammoth, who had been almost perfect in their last 9 games, only dropped 1 point out of a possible 18. It had been an amazing stretch, but that streak ends with a 2-0 loss in Tampa. Here's the best of the Mammoth post-game show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth fell 2-0 in Tampa Bay on Monday night as their 9-game unbeaten streak comes to an end at the same time as their 5-game winning streak is also snapped by the other hottest team in the NHL. Tampa Bay Lightning now 15-1-1 in their last 17. Utah now 8-1-1 in their last 10. In a battle of the 2 top goaltenders in the NHL, Karel Vejmelka leading the league with 25 wins. Andrei Vasilevsky now has 23 wins after turning aside all 28 shots that he saw from Utah. The analytics said Utah was expected to have over 4 goals in that game, but Tampa Bay blocked 20 shots, and Vasilevsky was huge, stopping Dylan Guenther in the first period, forcing Guenther to miss the net, hit the pipe, forcing Carconi to pop it off his shoulder, trying to go over the top to get Utah on the board late in the second, and denying Clayton Keller on a breakaway in the third period. Utah had their chances, had some power plays, had some good looks, but Tampa able to pop in a couple power play goals in a game that didn't see any scoring until the final 3 minutes of the second, and then it was 1-0 until the final minute of the third when Tampa Bay scored a power play goal. So Utah will move on to Sunrise and take on the defending Stanley Cup champions tonight as Game 3 of this 4-game road trip will take him into the matchup against the Panthers for the second time this year. We'll be on the air with Hockey Night in Utah at 4 here on 97.5 and 1280, the KSL Sports Zone. Puck drops at 5, and then at 7, when the Jazz pregame comes on with Jake and the coach Tim Lacombe, will be only on AM 1280 as Jazz and the Clippers get ready for their 8 p.m. face-off. So 97.5 and 1280, along with the KSL Sports app until 7, and then AM 1280 and the KSL Sports app after 7 to wrap up our coverage tonight from Florida. Utah still holding on to that first wildcard spot in the Western Conference, a 3-point lead over San Jose, who's in the second spot. So nothing lost there as the Mammoth fall to 27-21-4 on the season. Let's hear from Ian Cole and what the Utah defenseman thought after the game.
Can you just start with your initial thoughts on how your team played that game?
I think that obviously disappointing that we lost, but overall I think that we were happy with our intention and our desperation in that game. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take from that were positive. Obviously fix some things, but move on to tomorrow against another great team.
It felt heavy. It looked like a dogfight. I think you guys knew what you were getting into with this team. Where do you guys feel like your team rose to the occasion when it came to some of that more hard-fought fight?
It's they're a team that's been playing great hockey. They have great structure, but also highly skilled, and that's a similar style to how we want to play. We want to have great structure. We want to take away time and space. We want to be able to get in guys' way, get pucks back. They do the same thing. So it was a good game. Obviously, they're a good team. They capitalized on a couple chances. We did not capitalize on a couple of our chances, and that's the way it goes. But I think in terms of our mentality and our approach was another good step for us.
What were some of those details that allowed you guys to hold them to only 2 power play goals and no even strength goals?
Like I said, we're trying to take away time and space, trying to get over guys. We're trying to take away their options, and we know what they like to do, and we were able to kind of shut down a lot of that. Again, they're a good hockey team. They're highly skilled. They make a ton of great plays, so they got a lot of great players. It's going to be impossible to shut them down completely, but I think overall we did a pretty good job, and like I said, it's the margins are very thin in terms of what wins you a game or not, and unfortunately it didn't go our way tonight. But I think if we do that, if we play a similar game, we'll win a lot of hockey games going forward.
What stood out about Vejmelka's game, especially when he was making some of those big saves?
Yeah, I mean, he played great. He played awesome for us. Not only did his play, but his puck touches were great too. He was getting out there, stopping pucks for us. It really helps us in the breakout, not having to go, all the way back and turn it up a little quicker. Enough can't be said for how he's played recently and how he's, kind of been our backbone here through this positive stretch.
There was a lot of penalties in the game, but that's what you get in kind of a mean contest against two teams who play an intense brand with lots of speed, who are playing good hockey. Tampa Bay had 4 power plays. Utah had 3. Penalties kind of came in bunches. Saw a fight in the game. There were a couple calls that went against Utah that looked like they were pretty soft, but nevertheless, the Lightning got them. They were able to convert on 2 power plays. Utah, who was 2 for 3 on the power play in their last 3 chances in the last 2 games, unable to convert on those looks. Let's hear what head coach Andre Tourigny said after the contest.
Well, I think we played a really good game, especially at 5-on-5. I think it's a team on the other side who's really stingy. They don't give anything. And if you look at the chance we create, the expected goal in about every phase, is really happy about our 5-on-5 play. And same defensively. It's a team who lead the league in about everything offensively. And we did a really good job, unfortunately. Too many timely penalties. Not just we got in the box, it's the timing of when we got in the box, and I think that cost us the game.
Ian Cole just talked about the mentality. I know you talk a lot about the right mentality going into games. What did you see in terms of that? That
was great. I think the guys were focused. They were urgent. They were. I'm happy about their focus in the game. I think, like I said, that team on the other side for the last 2 months, they dominated everybody, and we arrived here in their building, and we played a good game at 5-on-5, and I think I'm happy about what the guys did. I'm not happy about the result. Obviously, I would have loved to have a little bit more opportunistic offensively, but they're a good goalie.
I'm sure there's no update on terms of Jersey right now, but as far as his ability to kind of, instigate, but also use that emotion and channel it to add to the physicality, what can you say about him and his performance?
That's what we like about Durs. He has that drive, that passion, that competitiveness. That's good, and you need that at some point when push comes to shove. You need that energy.
In addition to his saves, what did you see out of Vejmelka's game, calmness, and his ability to help on breakouts with puck touches?
Yeah, he did a good job. I think Vej did a good job. I think he kept us in the game, like I said, at 5-on-5. He did a good job. And on the power play, they didn't have a lot of grade A looks, but unfortunately, that was a hell of a shot in the first goal. And at the end, we're forcing, obviously, with a minute left, and made a big mistake, and they put it in the back of the net. That's unfortunate, but it's not on Veg.
In terms of just the penalty kill, and I know you haven't watched the tape yet, but anything you would have liked to have seen different off first?
No, I think we did a really good job. Like I said, the last PKs, we're trying to attack more than to defend. So, they score. That will look like that on the score sheet, but in reality, that's just the situation in the game. There's a minute 30 in the game where we try to push. We want to win the game. What's the difference today? We're losing 1-0 or 2-0. Well, at the end of the day, we lost. So might as well try to win. So we try to win. We try to push, and puck end up in the back of the net. It is what it is. Thank you.
And, of course, we'll recap it all for you coming up on the Tuesday edition of Mammoth Daily. We'll get Mike's Morning After. We've got our Tuesday mailbag, and we'll preview tonight against Florida on Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, SEG Plus, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Mammoth Daily, Monday through Friday. New episodes dropping every day at 4:45 a.m. with Mike Folta and myself.
There's the best of the Mammoth postgame show. When we come back, Jason Cole talking NFL playoffs. Then we'll get to the Cougars and Wildcats. Stay with us. DJ PK, we're joined now by Jason Cole, longtime NFL reporter and writer. PK's off, a little vacation time, but Jason is here to talk NFL football. Jason, good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
Well, we got a lot of Denver Bronco fans here, and they're down right now, and I get that. But obviously they didn't have Bo Nix. So it's 3 years here with this current regime, and the arrow is up, so I think they ought to stay positive. But rather than go big picture, I just want to talk about the conference title game. Mm-hmm. Did both offenses get a little cover with that weather? Were the defenses always going to dominate those offenses? I mean, granted, the conditions were terrible in the second half. they weren't great in the first half, but they also weren't hideous. No, I didn't see a whole lot of offense, not just a lot of points. I didn't really see drives. I saw one big pass play and one big turnover. And other than that, I saw a lot of three and outs and punts, or maybe the occasional first down and then a punt.
Sometimes you get that in games like that where teams are trying to avoid a mistake. So there can be that explanation for it. But there's also this explanation. Between those two teams, which offensive players do you fear? And I would say there's nobody. Drake May might be the closest, and I don't know that Drake May is fear-inspiring. He's very good. He's on a path that he could be one of the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks in the league pretty quickly, right? That's possible. But he doesn't scare me. And so I think that they have both teams have a lack of game-changing players who then make up for when either conditions go bad or games are conservative, guys who can make a big play. So, I think these are nice teams, and either one of them would have been representative coming out of that game. And, yes, Denver Bronco fans should feel good about where they are, even though they're in a very tough division. All that said, I don't think those offenses neither one of those offenses scares me. So I think you're right to interpret that the weather covered up for what is a lack of firepower.
The defenses are both excellent. They were both top 4 in the NFL, along with Seattle, who was number 1. So defense wins championships. Certainly 3 of the top 4 defensive teams were in those conference title games. And the playoffs are different. Your point about Drake May, regular season Drake May is an elite quarterback. And, he's 23. He's just getting started here. But he was number 1 in completion percentage. He's number 1 in QBR rating. He was top 3 or 4 in everything that matters: touchdowns, yardage, all that stuff. And the playoffs are a different beast. But now he's only completing 56% of his passes in 3 playoff games. Hasn't gotten to 60% in any game. 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, and of course we know he's had a bunch of fumbles as well. Is that just the playoffs are harder and the weather is worse? Is there more to it than that? What do you think? Because Drake May's clearly getting into the conversation here for elite quarterbacks.
Yeah, again, I come back to who are the guys on that team that make life easier for him? Stephon Diggs, nice player. Hunter Henry, I should say. Nice tight end. Running back Stevenson. The other kid, nice players. And there's no scrubs on that team, but there's also no guys who are elite who just, that guy's going to be open against this defense. There's no Jackson Smith and Jigba who, no matter what you do to him, all right, he's going to find a way to get open. And he made life so much easier for Sam Darnold. I'm not saying that Sam Darnold didn't play well yesterday. He played extraordinarily well. But Smith and Jigba is running wide open on big plays. And it's everybody in the world knows he's the best receiver on this field when they are on offense. And he's still getting open no matter what. That's this kind of signature player that I'm talking about who makes life easier for your quarterback.
Well, as much as I want to cut Drake May slack because, in the last 2 games, Houston and Denver, those are just elite defenses. Now they're getting someone who's just as good, unless they're a little better, and they're going to have 2 weeks to get healthy and to prepare and break down every tendency and be ready for everything. Did you feel like you were watching the Super Bowl when you watched the NFC title game?
A little bit. But I give New England more than a puncher's chance because, again, I come back to Sam Darnold just played the best game of his life.
Yep.
Do you expect that he's going to do that 2 weeks in a row, or is he going to be the guy who led the league in turnovers and show up, right? So which quarterback are we getting? And again, I'm happy for Sam Darnold. He's worked incredibly hard to get himself to this point, to have that kind of game and to be celebrated because that's a talented guy. But until I see that on a consistent basis for a year or 2, I'm not going to trust that that's the norm. So the norm for me still with Sam Darnold is the guy who, in a big game when the pressure's on, has some yips. That's certainly possible. So does that show up in the Super Bowl when the lights get even brighter? Does he look like the guy who was in the playoffs with Minnesota last year, or does he look like the guy from yesterday? I don't know. There's a lot of psychobabble that goes into that you can't prove positively and you can't prove negatively.
What I heard in that answer right there, and a very good job by you, because I don't know how much experience you got in the state of Utah, but tapping into Utah's football psyche, because that answer right there, what I heard was Steve Young and Kyle Whittingham. Got two quarterbacks who haven't been here before, two quarterbacks who've had some turnovers recently, whether it's Darnold all season long or Drake May, certainly in the playoffs. And Kyle Whittingham has preached forever, turnovers are the most important stat after the final score. If there's any numbers you want the final score. You'll explain everything else later. But if you're looking for one stat to explain the final score, Kyle Whittingham must have said that 100 times. I mean, I heard that. I heard him say that in three different leagues. It's unreal.
No, but he's not wrong.
Right? I know. I agree.
Yeah, every time you give extra possessions to your opponent, like you're putting such a premium on, higher performance by your own offense that now all of a sudden you just have to have guys who are outrageous. Now you can get into games where you're willing to gamble on more turnovers. That's sort of the Saints classically in the year that they won the championship, was that we're going to play a high-paced offense and they're going to match that with, a defense that takes chances and doesn't want to be on the field a lot. That's a smart way to marry your philosophies. But your defense still has to win the turnover battle. And you still got to you can take those gambles, but you got to win the turnover battle that way.
The reason I brought up Steve Young is get the monkey off the back, right? Didn't say. I mean, he celebrated wildly when they beat the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, and I think a lot of people of a certain age here remember him running laps around the late great Candlestick Park. But he didn't say take the monkey off my back until they'd beaten the Chargers in the Super Bowl. And so for Darnold, as awesome as that was, and I mean. He's got the best defense to, quote unquote, prop him up, except he's got the best offense going up and down the field on the best defense. So he had to deliver. That was high level performance, but he won't scream take the monkey off my back until he does what Steve Young did. And even if it's against an AFC champ that looks like it ought to be an easier matchup on paper, possibly.
Well, I think the phrase for Sam Darnold should be make the ghost disappear.
Okay.
Since, the famous quote from the Jets game.
Yep.
Where he said
seeing
he was seeing ghosts.
Yep, seeing ghosts.
I mean, again, I think there's an emotional moment. There is, and you could see it in his face, how relieved he was, both ecstatic and relieved. You could see both of those things. And, these are triumphant moments for great athletes who endure failure, because certainly Sam Darnold has endured failure and been knocked around, and resuscitated his career by first being a backup in San Francisco, then going on to Minnesota, getting back on the field, but then being told by Minnesota, sorry, we don't believe in you. We're going to get this J.J. McCarthy kid. You're going to have to go on, and being given a quasi good contract in Seattle, all those things. And I mean, this is the kind of tale we all love to see. It's along the lines of Tom Brady being a 6th round draft pick and making it big, or Jim Plunkett. If you want to
go way back.
I want to date myself, if I want to date myself, and I can, is go back to a guy who was just destroyed for 7-8 years of his career before he finally got to a place where he could get healthy and have a supporting cast. All those things you talk about. So I love the story. We'll see. Again, I love this. I love the storyline to this point. But if you're asking me, do I trust that Sam Darnold is the guy that I saw yesterday? I don't trust that. Not yet. I hope it happens, but I don't trust it.
He has been interception-free in the regular season finale against the Niners, the playoff game against the Niners, and now this NFC title game with the Rams. So that's 3 good teams, 3 high-pressure games, 3 good defenses, and he's come through in all of those. Now, the defense really won that regular season game.
Except two of those games, they took no chances.
Yeah, and they didn't have to against the Niners. Yeah,
right, they didn't have to. And that's okay, but in that regular season finale, like they called the game as if they were scared of their quarterback.
Yeah.
Yesterday, they did not. They had to play a game in which they had to trust him and believe in him, and he came through. Again, yesterday was the moment where you saw things and you said, okay, maybe it's coming along.
Maybe it's happening here. For the Rams, so close. They lose 2 out of 3 to Seattle. It felt like the Super Bowl. It feels like they're the second best team in football. Stafford hasn't officially said what he's doing next year. Let's assume that he comes back because he's at the top of his game, and why not? As his coach said, he's at the top of his game. What do the Rams need to get over the hump?
I think that they need one more. I hesitate to say this. I think they're okay offensively, so I'm not going to go with that. I think that they need another thumper on defense. And, they haven't replaced Aaron Donald still. And nobody replaces Aaron Donald. You're talking about a generational talent, a defensive line, a guy who's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. But they don't have guys on defense who stir the drink, either with the pass rush or in coverage, who just shut people down. And that showed up yesterday. Like they just, again, we're talking about a Seattle team that good offensively. Mm-hmm. But there were moments they were just going up and down the field, and they made big plays. And you got to have a guy who can make life harder for Smith and Jigba or whoever else, either in coverage or they've got a guy up front who causes fear and problems on, how you protect your quarterback. So I would say their biggest deficiency right now is one of those guys. They're okay. Like they have a lot of nice parts. They don't have difference makers on defense.
The Super Bowl, Seattle's been installed as a 4.5-point favorite. You think that's about right, given the fact that New England's got a really good defense, and I wouldn't expect people to go up and down the field on them. This ought to be a lower-scoring, tight game, barring turnovers and field position, all that really opening things up.
Well, classically, if you're an odds maker and your goal in this one is to get equal amounts of bets on both sides,
right?
So you're making a profit with the VIG. Not that I'm a gambler, but I do understand the business. If that's your goal, yes, this is a perfect line. If you're a football person taking a look at it, I kind of think this is going to be a much closer to the vest type of game played. And that's the way Vrabel's been coaching in the playoffs. Again, partly because he doesn't have, overwhelming players. He's got Drake May, but doesn't have a lot of other guys, again, who stir the drink and can change games. And that's why even against Houston, look, they got 4 turnovers as C.J. Stroud in the first half. With a better team, that game should have been over at halftime. It was still competitive deep into the second half. That shouldn't happen in a game like that. And that's partly because Vrabel understands the kind of team he has when I was getting through it. I think that he'll find a way to manage this game and keep the score suppressed. I think he learned enough from Belichick to say, okay, we have to find a way to take away Smith and Jigba and make the other guys beat us, which is classically how Belichick always coached. Take away the other team's best player and see what the other guys can do in critical situations. So I kind of see this game as a field goal game. Some people might laugh at that and say, oh, no, it's, I believe in Seattle by a touchdown easy. I'm not quite there yet.
Special teams was huge in this NFC title game, obviously with the muffed punt giving Seattle the short field and a touchdown and what turned out to be a 4-point win. You think either team has a big advantage in special teams, something obvious?
Not really. I mean, muffed punt is muffed punt.
Right.
Yeah, like, that's not.
That can
not
always
because
happen.
You have great. Yeah, it can always happen. I mean, that's not because you came up with some brilliant strategy. The kickers, to me, the two kickers are a standstill. I don't think that one is particularly better than the other, especially when you're talking about playing in probably pretty good weather conditions. I don't know what it's looking like for 2 weeks. I don't know what the forecast is in 2 weeks in San Francisco.
Nobody does.
It can look ugly there sometimes.
Yeah, it can rain a lot.
This time of the year. Yeah, and so you could have, but they'll cover the field. They'll keep it okay. The question is whether it's going to be rain during the game and whether that'll affect the kicker. Either one of the two kickers. It's pretty much a draw on that one.
Now, Jason, you've been coming on the show for a long time, talking football with us, and we appreciate it. And you strike us as a no-nonsense guy. So do you stay home and watch the Super Bowl on TV, or do you go to Santa Clara and wade into the fray and deal with all the media day nonsense and all that kind of stuff?
I have done both. I am not going this year, so that's just the way that goes. And I've covered 30 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's enough.
And so if
that's enough.
I'll just say that. I'll say this: it's fun. I don't want to sit here and say it's not.
Right.
But if you've done it that many times, it's like, okay, I've done the routine.
Right.
Let's yeah. I don't. Yeah. If I want to get, if I could just fly in, go to the game, and enjoy the game, that would be enough.
Right.
I could do without the rest of it.
There's Jason Cole. A reminder, the KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Post-game reaction from a big game at the Marriott Center next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right. That game at the Marriott Center, that had a little bit of everything. First 15 minutes, trading baskets, super competitive, really good stuff. And then Arizona takes over. I thought it turned on one key play. Arizona scores. BYU goes to inbound. They're sloppy. They're not paying attention. Arizona steals the inbound and scores. Just giving away 2 points. For whatever reason, that swung the momentum. Arizona went on a run. They had control of the game at halftime. Second half, they stretched the lead out to 19 points. It looks like it's going to be a hideous, hard-to-explain home blowout defeat on their NCAA tournament resume, the kind of stuff that can affect seeding. But instead, the Cougars rally late. They get it down to 10 with 2 minutes to go, and then in a frantic final 2 minutes to get within one and get the ball back. They had some calls go their way. They had some bounces go their way, but they also brought a phenomenal amount of energy, made some big plays, made some big shots. But then then they get the final shot by Rob Wright blocked in the lane when they had a chance to take the lead. They end up losing by 3. What did Arizona think of that, and what did the BYU folks think of that? Well, let's start with Arizona's post-game reaction.
Obviously, great game, great environment. BYU is a tough place to win, and we knew it was going to be a real challenge. I thought for long stretches in the game we played great, and then they seem to have the ability to do. They surmounted a hard charge at the end, and fortunate for us, I didn't think it was going to get to that point, but it did. I mean, they had the ball with 11 seconds to go, down 1, and Braden came up with a big time defensive play, and he got the rebound and made 2 free throws. So it's a big time finish for us, and we've been talking a lot about that. From going back to this summer, that there's going to be some games that come down to getting one stop, and we haven't been in a lot of them, so it was great to experience that and have it come out our way.
Questions for Jaden or Braden, please, first.
Braden, take us through that final block. Rob Wright had hit a game winner earlier this year against Clemson. What were you thinking as the play unfolded?
Honestly, I was just thinking, my teammates have been having my back this whole year, and that was the least I can do is help them in that position right there. So I just wanted to help them miss the shot and just try to get the rebound, and I seen that he was open. I just went for the block. Got the rebound.
What got you and Braden going so early in this game, in your opinion?
I just feel like just making easy plays. Our bigs did a great job of creating open lanes and and shots for us, and So we just were able to hit those, and we had the flow early, so that was all.
Braden and Jaden in this one, but they seem to have a concerted effort to take away the rim. You guys both hit a number of mid-range jump shots. Was that something you planned on prior to the game, knowing that they would try to play drop coverage, or how did that come about while playing the game? Was it just all feel, or was that a preconceived decision that you guys would be looking for shots in mid-range?
Yeah, I think it was just more like a read and react type of flow. That they're so far behind, then you just shoot the midi. If they come up, go all the way. Pretty simple.
Coach, I feel like you executed the scout on the ball, so you got 24 points. But
I mean, AJ's really good. I mean, like you can do a great job on AJ, and he can still score 30. I mean, just he's a really unique player in college. We haven't seen a lot of guys like him that just are so proficient at getting fouled. So it makes for a tough guard. I mean, a lot of our guys haven't played against him, so especially, and then none of them have played against him in a college setting because obviously he's continuing to get better. So, I thought once we got through the initial kind of feel of how to guard him, I thought our guys did a pretty good job.
Any other questions for the players? I'm going to let them go.
Yeah, Jaden,
Okay. Go ahead, Sal. Go ahead, Sal.
Jaden, down the stretch of a couple of games this year, you guys have had a little bit of trouble beating the press. What do you learn from this game, since it's been such a long stretch in between the last time it kind of happened?
That's what we work on in practice. On the road, games are going to come down to, being press breaks, and I feel like we did a decent job. We got to watch the film, still got a lot of stuff to clean up. I shouldn't have got to that point, but, we did a great job, and we still got a lot to clean up.
In the front right.
Braden, just in terms of the freshman class, you, Koa, AJ, what do you make of all the hoopla you guys are getting as one of the best freshman classes in the country?
I feel like we just getting better each and every day. Even I feel like we have the best freshmen on our team in the whole nation with Yvonne, Ceedee, Mabille, Dwayne. And it's just getting better every day and just continue to have that growth mindset. That's what we need.
In the back, yep.
Yeah, obviously AJ's had plenty of hype coming in, but you as a freshman, was that a matchup you were looking forward to?
Yeah, of course, because, he's one of the better players out there, but I kind of go into every game just trying to dominate in every aspect, rebounding, defending, playmaking.
Anything else for the player? Bruce?
Jaden, does it seem like some of these, especially on the road, do you feel like you're playing more aggressively, or, it seemed like tonight really came out?
Just taking with the defense, what they're giving us. They were in the gaps, and, my teammates believe in me, throwing me the throw-ahead passes, and, just trying to go out there and play for my teammates.
All right, we'll let the players go. Coach, stick around for a few more minutes.
Great.
Questions for Coach?
Coach, I know that there was some thought that you might start with Yvonne on AJ. What went into the decision?
I mean,
to alter that?
probably nothing we need to share publicly. We knew we were going to give him a lot of different looks, and and it wasn't anything crazy. There was no. We knew over the course of the game we were going to have to give him different looks, and so we just kind of started that way, and it felt like that could, maybe, we were going to see how it goes, and we would adjust from there.
Is there a little bit more comfortability with Koa starting on him since they are familiar with each other?
I mean, I don't think so. I think it's just kind of how the matchups worked out. We felt best, doing that, and yeah, I mean, then Yvonne had his chance guarding him, Dwayne had his chance guarding him, Tobe had his chance guarding him. JB and Deli ended up on him. I mean, you put who you want on them, and they're going to try to go pick a matchup. So at some point it almost becomes irrelevant who you put on them. I mean, they're going to go try to target somebody and get in their perception, a matchup advantage. So, at the end of the day, everyone has to be able to kind of carry their weight defensively on him.
In the first half, you guys outscored BYU 13-0 in points off of turnovers. You were able to force 9 turnovers in the first half. What do you feel like you did right early on defensively?
I mean, I just thought I thought our activity was good, and I think we were opportunistic. I don't think it was any crazy scheme or anything like that. There's no geniuses here. It was just guys out there playing hard, playing basketball, and maybe had an opportunity to create an advantage for us and making a play in the gaps or something like that. So, we want our players to have the freedom to kind of do that kind of stuff.
What do you think happened from your vantage point in that final minute that got to give you that opportunity?
Well, listen, I mean, I have an All-American point guard, and I don't know if he got fouled or not, but It's not too often you see a jump ball and then no calls like that, at the end of a game. And, I'm really confident with the ball in JB's hands, and I kind of wanted to save our timeout. Obviously, in hindsight, I would have done something different. And at the end of the day, listen, you just can't put it in the ref's hands. You got to be cleaner. We gave up free offensive free throw rebounds. I mean, I know Yvonne had the ball, had it over his head. They made a nice play, tipped it out. JB has the ball there. They make a play. And then AJ picks up the one, and we foul him so it doesn't get in. It turns into a flagrant one. I mean, so just tough stuff. I mean, it felt like everything at the end kind of went against us, but you know what? Our guys have competitive character and hung in there and found a way. But that easily could have went the other way for sure.
Was the timeout you called at 12 seconds, was part of that just to kind of cool things down and have Braden go?
I mean, I just wanted to kind of see what they were setting up and then just talk to our guys. I didn't want to, hey, if we lose, I didn't want to have that in my back pocket and regret not, kind of giving our guys a little bit of a plan. And, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But listen, the kid got to point blank. I mean, fortunately, they didn't call a foul. I mean, we had the same situation at home against them last year. They got down close to the rim, and they called a foul, and we lost the game, So, I mean, just how it goes sometimes.
Were you surprised it was Rob Wright on that final play instead of AJ?
I don't know. I mean, listen, they threw the ball to Rob Wright deep, against our baseline out-of-bounds defense, and he came with a head of steam. And, I haven't seen the film to see where the gaps are, where the other guys are, even where AJ was. So, I don't know why. I mean, listen, Rob Wright's a really good player and a winner, so I'm sure, he probably felt comfortable doing that, and they probably felt comfortable with him, making that play as well. It just didn't work out. It could have easily worked out.
Coach, two more questions for Coach.
Jaden provides such a steadying presence. It just seems like, especially in the first half when things weren't super clicking offensively, his ability to just create for himself in the mid-range is just so crucial. How important is that ability of his, and how impressed are you with just his growth since when he's got
Well, listen, I think obviously JB's playing at all. He's played at an All-American level all year, and I mean that's I don't need to be the one promoting that. That's obvious. I think the thing that's not talked about with JB enough is just how much better he's gotten over the course of his college career. And JB gets all the credit for that. JB is incredible character. He's a hard worker. He kind of waited his turn and he was patient. And for a kid that, was highly ranked like he was, he stuck to a process. So he and his family get a lot of credit for that. And I think because he stuck with that process, I think he's going to be rewarded with a great long basketball career.
Coach, second straight year, you guys get a winning race. There's just the challenge of coming into this building and getting wins. And
well, fortunate for me, I played here a lot, so I know how hard it is, and I got a tremendous amount of respect for the BYU basketball program and the legacy they have. And so, we come in here, it's got our full attention. And, I know that, you're not always going to come out on the winning side, but, we really wanted this challenge for our team. This was a great opportunity for us, win or lose. And we approached it as such, obviously it's a quick turnaround. We played Saturday, and, we really only were able to kind of walk through yesterday. So our guys get a lot of credit. Our coaching staff, deserves a lot of credit for the preparation. And fortunately, we made one more play than they did tonight. Where it felt like for stretches, we made a lot more plays than them, but they were able to kind of close the gap. So we'll evaluate that and figure out why. But I'm going to tip my hat to BYU, and I'm going to tip my hat to our players.
Thanks, Coach.
What do you got, Bruce?
Sorry. You've talked about Braden and his competitiveness and the way he's played lately. Is there a fine line there where he gets that flagrant, where he's?
It's hard. This game's hard. I don't know. It's hard. I don't know what happens in some of these reviews. They're tough. It seems like every time they go to a review, come on, it's a good basketball play. You're not trying to hurt a guy. You're literally got an All-American player point blank. What are you supposed to do? Get out of the way and let him dunk it on you? Come on, guys. We all played basketball growing up. You foul, and you can't give up an and one, or your coach is going to yell at you. It's just tough. It's tough. Tobey's deal was tough. That's tough. But again, we did have great officials tonight, so I don't know if it's the officials' fault or just the way they're trying to administer the rules. But guys, that really didn't have anything to do with the game. I'm just saying that. I'm talking on the when the refs are going to evaluate stuff, and for flagrant ones, it's tough. It's tough. And we had a couple games ago where they literally flopped and were grabbing our guys' arms and putting them up in their face, and they were asking for appeals, and there's no penalty for it. Should be a technical foul. If you call for an appeal and it's not, it should be a technical foul. Like, there's got to be something on the line here. So I don't know. I mean, that's a conversation for another day. Great environment. Super impressed with BYU's team. Coach Young's a great coach, doing a great job. We were fortunate enough to make one more play than them tonight, and I'm looking forward to a couple days off.
All right, there's Arizona's post-game reaction. Now let's go to the BYU players, A.J. DeBonsa and Richie Saunders.
AJ, can you talk about what you saw in that final play?
I mean, Rob just made a good play, get to the rim. I think Jaden Bradley thought he was going to, try to bump him. Held the ball strong. Ref said it was a clean block. It was a clean block. I think it was a good opportunity. I think the way we fought was a little bit better. I'm just happy the way we fought.
Richie, you guys were down double digits about a minute to go in this game. How did you guys claw your way back into this from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, just as a whole, we didn't execute as well as we'd like to, but in that last little bit, we executed well, and that's what it came down to. So, got to figure out how to just keep chipping away at making that 40 minutes instead of just good stretches.
AJ, what was Arizona doing to you defensively tonight that led to not as efficient of a night as you were accustomed to?
Nothing. I missed shots. I normally make. My middies wasn't falling. Wide open threes wasn't falling. I just missed shots.
Richie, Kevin said that this kind of proves you guys can play with anybody when you're on. Would you agree with that? And how can you guys build on this? What can you take from it?
Yeah, 100% agree. Just like I was saying, we had to execute for 40 minutes. It sucks when this happens and when you come up short, right? But just if we can figure out how to just execute for that full 40 minutes and like I say, not have lapses, like that's when we're gonna reach where we can reach our potential.
AJ, this is your first time going against a co-ed. I know you played together all through your youth, but your first time going together in college. What was your assessment of the matchup?
I mean, how it's always been. I mean, I played with him for 3 years, won 3 gold medals with him. Just a great player. I mean, gets downhill, shoots the midi well, big, strong body. I mean, I think he's going to be, imposing as well this whole season and, at the next level too.
Richie, how encouraging, if that's the right word, was it to see Moo banging down some threes and Kosic coming in the second half and providing some triples?
Yeah, I mean, Moo was bound to make some. He was due for it. He's an incredible shooter, and I'm really happy that he kind of finding that rhythm. And Alex, that's what he does. You guys don't get to see that all the time, but we do. And proud of him for stepping up.
2 more questions.
Richie, how hard was it to be fouled out, and not be on the floor during that stretch to the end?
I mean, it sucks. It sucks, and it feels just like a personal thing of just letting my team down, not being there for my team when I need to. And got to clearly figure out how to not pick up a couple of those. And so that's what I'll be watching this week, but it sucks.
All right, last question. AJ, as you guys move forward here, that's the number 1 team in the country, and these are going to be just coming pretty fast and heavy down the stretch here. Just what do you take away from a game like this?
That we found our identity, that we're going to fight to the end. We're not going to just fold when we're down a certain amount of points. And that just proves that we can play anybody in the team if we can, hold the number 1 team to – we didn't hold them, but they were up big and we can fight back and come back and then make it a 1-possession game. It just shows what the possibilities of us and what we can do in the future.
There's A.J. DeBonsa and Richie Saunders. Now here's the head coach, Kevin Young.
Coach, the last shot, was there an opportunity to maybe get A.J. the ball, or were you happy with what Rob did?
I mean, it's a two-option play. And so they did a good job of taking the first option away. And, Rob got the ball, within 2 feet of the basket and felt pretty good about that. Probably a little bit more time on the clock. They collapsed. Maybe could have found something. But, Rob's a gamer. We saw it at the Garden. I trust him in those moments. Quite frankly, him and AJ, neither one of them really had it going. But those are our guys. We're going to ride and die with them. So, like I said, the first option was to get AJ the ball. They clogged the area we were trying to get it to, and then we got the ball in Rob's hands to make a play.
Take us through that final minute, just all the comebacks that you guys mounted in that stanza.
Man, I got to break that one down on the film because there was so much going on. I just watched a little bit of it. I mean, we were down 10 with like a minute 2 to go, which is insane. But, it just says a lot about our team. the fight. We spent a lot of time on situational things. I thought, we executed about as good as you can to overcome that type of a deficit. And so there's a lot of things we can, take from that as far as putting it in our kind of memory bank and experience. And that's obviously a positive.
Are you encouraged by the performance you got from Moon tonight? He kind of broke out of his slump from the perimeter, 5 a day.
Yeah, I don't see how you can't be. He's had a rough go. He's a tough kid, and he stepped up and made plays.
How'd you feel about you called it the paint mentality coming into this game? How'd you feel they handled that this game?
Good, not great. And we only forced them to shoot 12 threes, just too many mistakes, and they were plus 14 on the free throw line. I'm not going to go at the officials. Every night it can go either way. I thought there was some marginal contact on some of them, but that part is what it is. We just didn't have not enough execution defensively was showing a crowd like we wanted to. I will say I thought our guys did a great job. Ironically, the paint points weren't even from the bigs. It was really the two guards that were having their way. You have to give them credit. Burry's a really good player. First time really seen him up close. He's big. He's got a great pace to his game. I thought Bradley was just an absolute dog. He's getting wherever he wants to. We started putting 2 on the ball more to kind of keep him out of the paint, which helped. But look, man, they're a good team, and they exposed us with their guards. But again, I thought coming into it, I was more worried about their bigs. I thought we did a good job on their bigs.
How do you feel like Alexi played in the stretch? It feels like the game turned when he came in.
Yeah, the game's about making shots, man. It's bottom line. So he can shoot, and that's why he's on the floor. And, I also thought he came in and executed defensively better than some of the guys who played, more minutes. So probably earned himself, a bigger opportunity. But, around AJ and Rob, we need guys that can knock shots down. So, he definitely turned the tide.
Coach Tommy said sometimes it doesn't even matter who you start on AJ because of the way you guys match up on. What did you think about just the way Arizona's, weaker defenders did, the job that they did on AJ tonight?
I got to really dive into the film to really give a great answer on that. But, look, I'll be the first person to always give the other team credit when they do something well. He shot 6 of 24. So, on paper, they did a good job. He also got to the line 16 times. But, and I experienced this some when I was in the NBA, like with Kevin, Durant, as an example. Like, sometimes you can do whatever you want on defense. It doesn't matter. He's either going to make the shot or he's going to miss it. And I thought AJ probably just missed shots. But you have to give them credit. They stuck their nose in there, and they made it hard on him. And so he'll learn from it, and we'll try to be better next time.
2 more questions.
What are some of your maybe immediate takeaways from stacking your team up against the top team in the country?
We're right there with every team in the country. I thought that before the game. I think it just as much I did before the game as I do now. So, I have a lot of respect for Tommy. I don't know a lot of the college coaches. He's a guy I've gotten to know a little bit. We have a mutual friend that I worked with the Suns that knew him, worked at Gonzaga together, so knew him through that a little bit. He's a great coach, and runs a great program, understands what wins at the college level. They're really unique, right? In modern basketball, they shot 12 threes and scored 86 points. You know what I mean? So they've got a style, I think, figured out pretty well. And clearly it's hard for teams across the country to play against, but, we didn't play good. Rob and AJ, if you told me before the game that Rob and AJ were going to go 9 of 40 and we were going to lose to the number 1 team in the country by 3 points, and I'm not here for moral victories. I'm pissed. I wish that they would have played better and we would have won the game comfortably. So it's just all about improvement, man. That's the bottom line. You got to learn from your mistakes, and I just said to the players, in the conference play, and I think you see it across the country. In conference play, the margins are very small. You can't make mistakes repeatedly, and so when you do it, we got ourselves into a hole. Now give ourselves credit because we did a great job in the second half of digging out of it. But that's a long-winded way of saying I feel good about our, stacking up with any team in this country.
Last question, Coach.
We'll go 2. Let's go 2. Here we go.
Richie seemed to have it going tonight, but only got 11 shots. What did you see there from his perspective?
Yeah, look, Richie's getting guarded like no other this year. I mean, people are smothering the guy, and I give my Russian friend, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, credit. He's a tough-nosed player, plays really hard. He's a good defender. Richie had a hard time getting a step on him. But also give Richie credit. I thought we did a decent enough job of moving him around a little bit more. He hit a 3 in the first after timeout play, hit that big 3 in another after timeout play. And so, Richie's a guy that will continue to try to get open looks for the best that we can.
Last question.
Nadim played just 5 minutes tonight. He played over 20 the other night. Was that just matchup related tonight?
Well, a lot of that was Moo was hurt in that game. Moo goes 5-8 from 3. I thought he gave us a big lift, and Hadim's got to continue to improve. With certain things that we're trying to work on him with. But I love Moo. I love Hadim. I love his mentality. He's a dog. He brings in intensity, and some games just matchups call for different things.
All right, there's BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.